Hi, business communication students. I just wanted to give you a little overview to our interactive online textbook, McGraw Hill Connect. It's pretty straightforward, but there are a few little quirks that I thought it would be helpful to show you. So here I am in the student view, and the student view might come in two different ways. So this is the view that I prefer, which who knows what the heck this little icon is supposed to represent. Could it be a study lamp? I have no idea. But anyway, this little icon goes to the folder structure. So it shows each of these folders, and I have all your assignments organized by the week. And the other way it might come in is you might see it coming in with this schedule. So if this little icon here with the clock icon leads to this display of assignments that are due soon. So it shows here whatever is due in the next 7 days. And most of the time, either one of these views will work fine. So let's go here to our classes, business communication, to see the folder view. So in each week, you have several assignments to be working on. So let's start with this assignment that is ongoing. So it's a very large assignment, but it is built-in mechanisms to try to help you space out the work and such. So this is your review of grammar. Grammar review, and the whole thing is due June 19th. So let's take a look in here. Takes about 11 hours and 12 minutes just for this one assignment, but once you get into it, it's all broken down into small pieces, and you can start and stop at any time, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and begin. Study tips. So it's always telling you how to learn in here, how to study. So this is kind of a work at your own pace. Brief introduction, and over here you'll see there's the assignment itself. Let's build your study schedule. So the deadline is 6/19. The days per week, they recommend 4 days per week at 45 minutes a day. And I will tell you that that may change if you progress. See, it says, if you progress faster than expected, we'll let you know. So each of the exercises in here is, so here we go, grammar review.
Let's start learning. This adaptive study session will help you improve your proficiency on the listed topics by altering.
So I'm going to pause her. So here we have our list of topics that you'll be working through. A lot of it is grammar and sentence problems, punctuation, mechanics, style, and word choice.
Pick your next learning mission. This will help you learn in a more focused way.
So this gives you, so see, you can choose what you want to do. Do you want to work for 20 minutes? Do you want to answer 4 questions right in a row? So you can choose what goals you would like to work for in this study session. And the idea is that, you know, whatever works for you, you can complete a topic. So it automatically will work with you at your pace to divide the 11 hours into bite-sized chunks. And I will tell you, most of this is grammar and mechanics, and that can be rather tedious. It can be kind of fun if you do it just a little bit at a time, but it definitely gets tedious if you try to binge. So I would really encourage you to use these little strategies, the 20 minutes or the 4 questions, so that you will just, you know, jump in and do a little bit here, a little bit there. Whenever you got a spare minute, you can jump in and knock off one of these little goals. One thing I will tell you is that each lesson, if you go through the main topic approach, and this probably comes into play if you do either of these approaches as well, then it will first give you a kind of a pretest. They call it something else, a check-in or tune in or something like that, but each one starts with a little pretest, and if you answer all the questions that are correct for that, then you may hear the thing tell you Well, you've already completed your task for today, but you still have more time left. Would you like to go on and do more and that kind of thing? So basically what happens is the assignment is getting shorter if you do well on the pretest. So whenever it introduces a new topic, it will first ask you some preliminary questions. And if you answer those correctly, it will say that you need less work on that and it will shorten your assignment. On the other hand, if you miss a lot of those questions, then your assignment will get longer. It will assume that you need more work on it. So my advice is absolutely do not wait until the end to start the grammar review, but work with this technology to pace it out. And the technology is pretty cool, the way that it adjusts the length of the assignment depending on what you need more practice on, so you don't have to waste time on something that you already know. So that's the grammar. And when you want to switch assignments in here, the way to do that is what I did, what you just saw me do here. I clicked on the menu in the upper right corner. Now I can see all of my options within Learn Smart Achieve. To get out of Learn Smart Achieve, I'm going to click Leave Assignment. Okay, now here I am back out in our list of assignments. So I'm going to close the grammar review. And let's look at week 2. So week 2, typical week, and it says week 2, but actually notice the assignments are always due on Mondays, Monday at 5. So it's due in Monday of week 2, but it's really, you're probably going to be working on it during week 1 and finishing it up by that Monday. That's why it skips week 1, because Monday already happened. Okay, so looking at week 2, so you notice you have 2 types of assignments. You have Smart Book, Learn Smart, they call it. So those are abbreviated by LS. These are 3-point assignments, and those are basically just comprehension checks that encourage you. So those are questions to answer that show you understood the material. And you pretty much get those right as long as you don't miss them. I mean, as long as you don't keep missing them. If you keep missing them, they will lengthen the assignment and think you need more practice. But once you make it to the end of the assignment, even if you miss quite a few along the way, you get 100% on the assignment as long as you keep at it until you've answered all the questions about that chapter. So let's take a look at that one. So I'm going into the Learn Smart. And remember, these are 3 points guaranteed 100% basically just for reading the chapter. So I'm starting it up here. Chapter 1. So here I am in chapter 1, and I can move around here. So basically this functionality is just like when you're actually reading the textbook, but this is reading worth points. To get the points, you have to answer questions. So over here in the bottom right corner, there's a toggle button where, so, you know, next section, highlight, previous highlight, you can put in your highlights. Notice these jump from section to section, not from page to page. So to get from page to page, you are scrolling down. Okay, so what you want to do in order to get your points is you got to go to the practice. So once you click practice, so this is a toggle button. So when you're in the read mode, you click this to switch to practice, and when you're tired of the practice mode, you can switch that, click that to switch back to read. And it's totally up to you how you want to do this. I know for me personally, I'm a very curious person, very arrogant and cocky, and I think I know everything until the moment you give me a question that I don't know the answer to, and then I realize I don't know as much as I thought, and I can't wait to find out the answer to the question. So me being that kind of person, it works really well for me to read via the questions. For other people, maybe you prefer a more organized approach to the subject matter. And you know, in my case, being a professor of business communication, I have read a heck of a lot of business communication books. And so I can tell you there's a reason I think I know everything. And so I probably need less help with the structure of the subject matter. But if you're just getting started in this stuff, then you may find it more helpful to actually read in an organized way and to have subject headings, section headings, all this kind of help to help you keep track of where you are in the book and how ideas fit together. So either way is fine, whatever works for you. But what these assignments really do is they give you a reason to slow down your rate of reading and take time to process what you're reading so that it actually sticks in your brain. Okay, so here I am looking at a question. So I toggle back and forth whenever I want. I'm looking at my question and says, when people are credible, they have a reputation for being creative, trustworthy, wise. Okay, so there, I'm going to say trustworthy. And I'm pretty sure it's trustworthy. So I'm going to say trustworthy, and I'm pretty confident about that. So I'm going to put I know it. And it actually asks you this, do you know the answer, so that you can actually, it's helping you to learn to take the initiative on your own learning and to pay attention to what you're confident about, what you're not confident about. And so it's going to give you feedback about how close you are to, whether you should be more confident or whether you're too cocky and you should be less confident. And it doesn't ask you that every time. So it's asking me for my answer, and notice I could, if I don't know the answer, you probably don't want to randomly guess, because remember, if you randomly guess and you start missing questions, then it will assume that you're struggling with this material and you need more practice, and it will make your assignment longer. So either way, by the time you get to the end, you're going to have full points, but it might take you less time to get to the end if you take the time to make sure you get the questions right. So if you're not sure of the answer, you can click here to go read and go back in the book, or you can click this button over here to read about this. And then it will jump you right to the part of the book where the answer to that question is. So lo and behold, here it is. Credibility is the reputation for being trustworthy. Trustworthy, and then explains that whole thing. So now I know for sure the answer is trustworthy. So I'm going to say trustworthy, I know it. And it's showing I got 20 items left. Now notice here, even in the answer page, you can also click read about it. So after you see the answer, if you're wrong, you want to understand why, you can go over here and read about it then. And here you see the little gray button that says challenge. So if you think the book is wrong, that they gave the wrong answer as being correct, and you want to help McGraw Hill Connect fix the book, then you can click challenge, and look, this question has been answered by 727 students within the last month and has remained unchallenged. Please write why you believe this judgment is wrong. And they tell you where it's referred to in the textbook. And in this case, the reason 727 students have answered it already without complaining about it is because it's pretty obviously that they have this one correct. But if you run into one where you think they made a mistake, and every now and then it does happen, this book has been in use for a long time, and so it's not very likely, but they do randomly pull questions from a pool, so not everyone has the same question. So it's possible that a question hasn't had not every question has been tested on 727 other students. At any rate, if you disagree, then you want to use that, because that's the only way to fix it. Don't email me and say I didn't like their answer to whatever question, because I don't control the answers to these questions. I control which topics we study, how much time you spend on it, but it pulls from a random pool of questions depending on how much time I told it to spend. And so I actually cannot control the answer key itself. So don't bother telling me if it's wrong, because I can't fix it. So if you want to fix it, click challenge, and that will be a service to other students. Okay, moving on. So here I have my next question, and it goes on this way, and it has 19 items left, 20 items that it's using for the random pool questions that it has chosen for me to answer. Okay, so let's say I'm done with this, and it will save it no matter where you are. It always saves where you are, and you can come back. So it's fine if you want to start and stop. And if you come back in later, it will start you in the place that you left off in the assignment. So remember to escape from this assignment and go to a different assignment. you always want to click back here. Then I see my full menu and I click Leave SmartBook because SmartBook was the type of assignment. And while I'm in here, let's point out over here on the side, you see this Study SmartBook and Learn Smart. And this is basically the exact same functionality, but this one is not worth any points. It doesn't track what you did. And in fact, if we click it, oh, it doesn't say it. I was hoping it would warn us that it doesn't. When I tested it, I thought it warned me. This one is not worth any points, and the ones in here that are listed as assignments are worth points. So don't waste your time doing this one because I've assigned you the same thing over here, but this one doesn't track your progress for me, and this one does. Unfortunately, I cannot just delete this item from the menu. So we're stuck with it there, and I just have to trust that you're going to know to ignore it. While we're mentioning the sidebar, notice here it says read, and this has a picture of a regular textbook cover, and that's how you get to your regular textbook anytime that you're working on, say, a different assignment for me, not a McGraw Hill Connect, but a real assignment, and you just want to say, look up the format for a memo, or you want to look this up and say, I need some help on my resume. I want to read the book. So here is how you read the book. Would I like to navigate to my last known location? Fine, whatever. So it jumps right back to where I left, which was when I was making the video early today. It's showing you where to find your format for a memo. And I can click on that to get to the table of contents, and I can jump around in the book and move my little camera out of the way. Over here, you have a search. So that's one of the beautiful things compared to a paper book is that you can actually search for keywords and stuff like that. Very convenient. So I want to get out of here. How do I get out of here? Scroll down. No. I'm just going to hit my back button. Oh, I see. So now I'm wondering how to get out of here. And when I click over here to the, notice this time it doesn't work. I can scroll down all the way and there's nothing to go back. And that's because when you open the textbook, it opens it in a new tab. So all I have to do, and that's cool because that allows you to leave that tab open in case you want to have the textbook on one side and your questions on another and work back and forth that way. So I'm just going to go back to my previous tab so that I can get back to my big picture menu. Okay, so now let's take a look at one of the quiz type assignments. So the quiz type assignments in here, some are more exciting than others, but a lot of them are pretty cool and they're more interactive. They use a lot more different kinds of questions than pure multiple choice, and they have a lot of really real world examples. So let's pick an especially neat one. So I'm going to click the up arrow to hide that, and I'm going to go to look at our second week. Okay, second week, let's look at the quiz 16 on employment communications. So I'm going to click begin. Here it goes. Now these are much harder questions. These are not just comprehension. The answers are not in the book. The answers require you to process the information in the book and apply it to these situations. And sometimes, to be honest, it's not even in the book. You just have to use your brain. And some of these are kind of gray area questions, which is typical of business communication. You can ask 5 experts what the best way to phrase something was, and 3 of them will tell you one thing and 2 of them will tell you another. So it's all a gray area, but you become a better communicator by trying to answer those questions, paying attention and arguing it through to yourself. So even if you don't always like the answer, you may find you're using the challenge button a lot more over here. If you don't always like the answer, you're still learning a lot. Okay, so here we have developing resume statements, and they give us a case here. And the case has a list of characteristics of Jack and his background, and then it asks you questions about the resume. So let's see, he had, according to the first question says, which of the following statements about Jack's lease agent position is most effective? So I can go up here and I can find some details about his, here he is. For the past 18 months, he worked for Golden Sand Townhomes as a leasing agent. This position he draws up, so it's his current position. He draws up and files new leases, renewal leases, subleases, lease addendums. He also works in the front office area. Handles residents' requests, and he's setting up parties and other special celebrations for residents at the townhome. Several marketing campaigns. Okay, so he's got some experience there. What does Mr. Jack Williams want to do with his life? He wants a position in marketing and social media. Okay, so he doesn't want a position in real estate and leasing. So he's probably going to want to emphasize the event planning and the marketing campaigns that he's been doing. So let's see what our options here in the answer. So we're going to pick one of these statements that we think would be most effective for Jack to use on his resume. Learned about the lease process. This to me sounds more impressive than learned about the lease process, although I like that it says 75 townhomes. Assisted in the lease process for all tenants in the townhomes. And I'll tell you right now, if you were writing this on your resume, you don't want to pick the one with assisted, because like he's really doing it. Assisted, it downgrades what he's doing. This one sounds much more powerful and much more like he's in charge and impressive. So this statement is way better than that statement. So I eliminate that one. Manage all lease agreements. I like this one a lot too. One thing I like about this compared to responsible for drawing up and filing new leases is this is more a passive statement. And this says manage all lease agreements, and manage as a verb instead of responsible for. It still lists the pressing sounding legalistic list there that makes it sound like he has technical knowledge. I think that's cool. And this one mentions 75 townhome tenants. So I think this one is the best. So I'm going to pick that one. Next. And when I click next, notice it says up here save. So it has saved my answer. And so if I quit right now, save and exit, it's going to keep track of where I am. So you don't have to finish an assignment in one sitting or anything like that. And I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you get the idea. So these are really neat real world statements. Now you'll notice that that is a hard question. So it's not something where you can just look up the answer in the textbook. You're going to have to think about some of these, and some of those might be arguable. And with that in mind, we actually have 1 point. Remember, these are worth 7 points. So 1 point, which is about a 15% curve, because every now and then you'll have stuff where it just seems a little frustrating, or it was a little bit of a gray area, or it's a little bit subjective, and I don't want to deal with those arguments. And anyway, as I previously told you, I don't have the ability to change the key even if I think you're right. Therefore, to just cut all of that out, I still really like this textbook, even though it's a little bit subjective, because I think that kind of question is really going to help you learn a lot more. So we're going to stick with this textbook precisely because of these really real world questions, but the real world is very messy. So we're just going to give you a 15% curve, and hopefully that will offset all of your complaints about some of the subjectivity here. I mean, on this one though, I would argue that it's not subjective. There are perfectly good reasons that this one is going to be the best one. I will say, though, that although the answer is not in the book, and notice the ebook link is right here in case you want to look it up. The answer itself is not in the book, but in the book, there will be very clear directions that say that a better resume statement uses active verbs, shows that you yourself were the one who was really handling things as opposed to assisting, and having a specific numeric evidence of how big of a job you're handling with this specific number 75 different townhome tenants. So that those characteristics make this clearly a stronger statement. So it's not really that much of a gray area. And the book will help you to know how to choose the right answer. So these questions take a lot more time, and these assignments are worth 7 points, and these are really functioning almost like exams. You notice we don't have any regular exams in this class. Since it's a online course, it's hard to do exams in a meaningful way, and I don't really think it's suitable for the subject matter. But this is how you're demonstrating you've actually learned and are able to apply the subject matter. So you really want to take the time on these to understand why you're getting it wrong if you're getting them wrong. You really shouldn't be getting too many of them wrong. Okay, so let's say I'm finished. When you get to, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but when you go through the whole thing, then you can click submit when you're ready. I actually did it while my camera was paused. I submitted that one question and confirmed that I did get it right. Very reassuring as a professor. Okay, so now let's say you want to get back to your book. So you can go up here and exit. And here I am right back to my master list of all the assignments. So let me just point out the late assignments. One thing you want to remember is that McGraw Hill Connect has a sneaky bad habit, which I unfortunately cannot turn off, which is that after the deadline has passed, I cannot automatically hide the assignment from you manually, but not automatically. And it will let you complete it. So if you try to complete Learn Smart Chapter 1 after 5 p.m. Monday, June 1st, it will permit you to do it and waste your time on it, and it will give it a 0, and it will not tell me that you actually did it. So it will give you a 0, the same as if you hadn't done it. So it's a complete waste of your time. So once the deadline passes, do not try to complete these things late. Instead, the day after each deadline passes, another copy of the assignment will appear down here, clearly labeled makeup. So if you did the assignment on time, which is definitely what you want to do because these are only worth a C after you missed it. But if you happen to miss 1 or 2 here and there, you still want to go ahead and do them, then you just go down to this late makeup folder and you can find another copy of it here. Now keep in mind that what shows here in the late or makeup folder is not customized for you. So all of the assignments are always going to be here in this list once the deadline passes. And so the number of assignments in this list will grow over time. And you have to pay attention to which assignments you already did and pick out specifically the one you're missing here to do your makeup. And the way you can check which ones you did is right here. This little line graph is the icon that takes you to your results. So if you want to look at your grades, this is only your McGraw Hill Connect grades, not your course grade, which is in Brightspace. McGraw Hill Connect does not automatically move the grades from here into Brightspace, so I have to do that manually. And sometimes I run behind because I know that you already have access to the information. So you can go here anytime you want to check which assignments you completed in McGraw Hill Connect if you need to see which ones you might have missed so that you can pick them out of the master list in the late folder. And I would encourage you, if you miss some, to go ahead and do those. They're all due at the end. The last Friday of the class is when all the makeup assignments are due, but you really do not want to wait until the end and do all your makeup assignments at once. For one thing, you're going to be needing that information in order to carry out your assignments. So if you miss some, I would encourage you as soon as possible to go in there and get the makeup assignment done. Now, it's not confusing. You don't have to be checking your progress all the time over here in order to keep track of which on-time assignments you've done, because once you've completed assignment, it will clearly display here that you've already done it. Okay, so there's our tour of McGraw Hill Connect. And you're going to be spending a lot of time in there because that is our main introduction to the material. So each week, very simple, you just go in each week and do all the assignments in that list, and then you're done for that week. But don't forget that you also have this grammar review assignment up here in the ongoing folder that is up to you how you're going to pace it out over time.